How's it going, everybody? We are working on week 3 discussion for ITL 528. We're talking about grading for equity in this week's discussion. So I'm looking at all the TPEs right now. It says to include stuff from TPE 1.7, provide students with opportunities to access the curriculum by incorporating the visual and performing arts as appropriate to the content and context of learning. So when I'm grading or creating a rubric for PE students, it talks about visual and performing arts. So I guess you can I just like to relate everything to a sport or one of their past experiences. So as I'm getting to know students, this kid is familiar with basketball. This kid's kind of a non-athlete that enjoys mathematics or processes that require certain steps in order to achieve a certain goal. So visual performing arts, I mean, for me, if we're working on a volleyball unit, I can kind of relate the overhand serve in volleyball to, something related in a throw in baseball. That's kind of how I look at visual or performing arts. Again, I'm new to this. I haven't even taught a class yet, so I don't really know kind of what the visual and performing arts part of this means. So that's just what I go for. So using the intrinsic dynamics, what kids already know, and kind of how how they move in respect to their own genetic makeup. And then it says to touch on 5.1 as well. Apply knowledge of the purposes, characteristics, and appropriate uses of different types of assessments, diagnostics, informal, formal, progress monitoring, formative and summative. So in our learning map, in the PowerPoint project that we did last week, my formative assessments were on the sport of volleyball. So for the very novice player, I kind of broke them up depending on their skill level to begin with. So we worked on the serve. So station 1, it could basically just be like working on the timing of the serve, so that the toss, and then saying a verbal to represent when they're actually going to make impact without actually hitting the ball. So that's kind of the first step. Then they would move to timing the toss and the hit to a partner, or to a non-moving partner. So like a wall, and then after that, it could go over a net to a moving partner, and then the post exercise after that would actually be to participate in a teaching games for understanding environment, which is just a smaller version of a full game. So instead of a 6-on-6 game, they go 3-on-3. And all those can be kind of formal assessments. You can kind of evaluate during the period or during the unit to see how each student improves their skills in each of those stations. You can ask questions as exit tickets, like, hey, what kind of feedback did you get when your serve was higher as opposed to a lower toss? Just to try to get them thinking about the certain movements that they're going to be making in the sport of volleyball. And then for a summative assessment, that's basically a full game. You can assess 12 players on the field at once. They can rotate positions. And your rubric can kind of reflect each position and each, scheme that's on the court at each time. So all those assessments are kind of touched on throughout the building of the lesson, with the summative assessment being at the end. And then when grading for equity, so what this post is mostly about, and what I think about when I think about grading for equity, is making sure that I use the students' funds of knowledge and their past experiences to be fair when grading them. Like if somebody is a non-athlete, never been involved in any sport, I'm not gonna grade them harsher on the physicality of the demands of the sport. I want to give them a chance to, like we talked about in the Zoom meeting. They can create podcasts. They can create, a video with a voiceover. They can do a presentation with a physical board. If they're into arts and crafts, they can, do something of that nature. Write a paper, anything to just individualize their learning and optimize their learning. So that's what I think about when I think about grading for equity. Is not everybody's going to be the same. Not everybody's body is going to move the same. Their anatomies are going to be different. They're all going to be at different developmental levels depending on what class you're teaching. So not just using a physical assessment or an assessment with a pencil and paper to assess their skills. That's what I think about when thinking about grading for equity. So I hope you guys enjoyed the post. I did the best I can, especially with the visual and performing arts. Please give me feedback on that if I'm like going in the wrong direction. But I appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot.